Welcome to the Social Impact Level Up podcast. This is where we blur the lines between business, nonprofit, and impact. Social entrepreneurs in our community share their stories of how they are changing the world and building a legacy of health, wealth, happiness, and wellness. I'm your host, Wendy V, along with my co-host, Rodrigo Bravo. Together, we're social entrepreneurs building a collective of impactful humans who are going to make this world a better place. We hope you'll join us. Here's today's episode. Welcome. This is an episode I absolutely love because we get to hear about one of my favorite clients, Leave No Pause Behind USA. They transport military dogs around the world, and you get to hear in this episode just how easy it is to share your impact and get support for what you're doing and what you're passionate about. I hope you get some ideas, and I hope that you enjoy how we talk about dollars, people, and time and donations as a way to tell the world how wonderful you are. So today I wanted to talk about impact goals. And the reason I wanted to talk about impact goals is because it's easier for you to start counting before something happens than it is to start counting after something happens and go backwards. And I think as adults, all of us probably have learned this one tax season or another, where we weren't keeping good track ahead of time from the beginning of the year going forward, and instead had to go at the end of the year or in the next year and go backwards. And that was probably a pain in the rear. So the reason I brought this up is because, one, it's still fairly early in the year. It's February. If you haven't set an impact goal for your business or your nonprofit yet, you can still do so. And I want to walk folks through how to do that today. And we can kind of, if we want to role play through people's businesses, we can talk about different actual ways that you can use your whatever your kind of data you have in your business right now to talk about your impact, and then reasons why you would actually want to do that. So this is all from a training I did I think it was a webinar I did in January, where I walked folks through how to look at your business or your nonprofit for an impact goal, and then to actually calculate and set that goal. So we will not be doing the part of the math today. I promise I will not do math on Clubhouse. Although Rodrigo probably would love for us to do math on Clubhouse. I am not doing math in Clubhouse. But I do want to talk about the process by which you can use anything that you're already doing in your business to determine an impact goal. And then from there, take that information to the public and why you would want to share that information. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So welcome if you guys are coming into the room. Oh, Rodrigo. Rodrigo's posting his nerdy games in this room. I love it. So Rodrigo, do you want to say hi and tell us what you've posted as we start talking about this topic?
Yeah, I'm not going to let you guilt shame me into my love for math. Yes, I love math. I used to be a math lead or whatever. I was one of those nerds. And the funny thing about it was, it's always kind of like a parlor trick whenever I meet people or whatever, and I could do like mathematics in my head and all that shit. So this is a game that I play now, and I'm like absolutely addicted to. And you have to guess the equation. You get 6 tries to guess what the equation is, and it could be a plus minus. It could have multiple stuff. So if if you're looking for a math challenge, feel free to go there. If you're not, and you're absolutely bored by math, do not go there. But my name is Rodrigo. I am a mediator, and I'm certified through the state of Texas, and I practice locally here in San Antonio and here in Houston, Texas. That's really about it. I'm really excited to have this conversation, Wendy. It is important to have goals, not just desires, right? So it's important to have actual goals. Again, that comes part of our manifestation kind of Monday discussions that we always have, right? To put the goals, write them down, put them on a piece of paper, put it on a poster, whatever it takes, but put them out there and make sure that you have those goals and you visualize them, and there's something that you're aiming towards. Because the problem is a lot of times we don't, right? We have kind of like this broad, this maybe even vague kind of idea of what we want to do, but we never set it in paper, and it makes it difficult to actually get to those goals unless we actually set them down and make it a very, very precise. Hey, I want to go ahead and donate $1,000 to X charity this year. It's way better than saying, I'm gonna at some point I want to donate some money to X charity. But even that's better than like I'm going to donate some money to charity this year. The more precise and the more direct you can be on your goals, the better because it really does drive your business, your mentality, and your manifestation. So excited to have the discussion, Wendy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. The tangible part about it is where you're able to then say, okay, what actions do I need to take in order to reach the goal? So we're going to talk about all of those things today, Rodrigo. Thank you for the intro. And Santiago, do you want to say hi? And then we'll go to Liz. I'll invite Lakia and Christopher and Luz up as we do that, and then we'll get started.
Hi, good afternoon, y'all. My name is Santiago. I work in the finance space I here in New York. However, I do have clients nationwide, so it doesn't matter what part of the country you're from or where you're located. We could have that conversation. I'm licensed in various states, so hit me up. I specialize in comprehensive financial planning, so financial literacy is the key component. Like that's the foundation of everything, right? And that has a lot to do, obviously, with your money mindset and what you want to manifest. And one thing I tell folks is they feel frustrated or they're shy or they don't know where to start. And they're like, dude, I never contacted you because who am I to have a financial advisor? Who am I to have this conversation about money when I'm just, littered with debt and just so much crap. Like my money is just a hot mess right now, and I don't know where to start. And I don't feel like I'm worthy enough to have a conversation with somebody like you. And I always counter with, that's when you should actually be having that conversation with somebody that deals with, especially in financial planning, all that good stuff, because it's got to stop somewhere. I mean, I always made the comparison of myself and another 30-year-old man, and what's the difference between me and that person? It's that somewhere along his family line, they started having a conversation of, hey, let's get our finances in order, let's speak to an advisor, and it just started somewhere. And then that just, as opposed to that false philosophy of trickle down economics, trickle down, conversations about generational wealth and money. It just goes passes on for a generation, and it doesn't trickle down, it builds up. So that's just having a positive outlook, a positive mindset, that you tell yourself, you know what, I might not die a millionaire, but you know what, I want to make sure that at least my family and my children are set up to build something upon which they could look back and say, you know what, I'm glad my dad or my grandfather had this conversation. Because again, it's we have to break the cycle, right? It's got to start somewhere, so why not start with you?
No, I love it. Thanks, Santi. And so, Liz, I'm going to go to you next, and then Christopher. And if you're just joining us, I'll reset the room after that, and we'll get started.
Hey everyone, my name is Liz. I am a Marine Corps veteran, and my platform is mostly advocacy for military families and veterans, specifically with their pets. Actually, on the road, I just dropped off a pet on the cargo side who's going to be reunited with their family in Korea. And so, what my nonprofit does is it cuts out the middleman. So we just saved this military family $600 just by me doing this transport myself. So that is what I am advocating for right now. My nonprofit is called Leave No Paws Behind USA. And I love the title of this room because when it comes to a nonprofit, you cannot be shy about asking for money. And I learned that real quick. I used to be super meek about it, like, oh, if you want to, you don't have to. Now I'm like, no, I need X amount of money to help X amount of families. And, very, very firm with, why we need this funding, where this funding is going. And I'm currently in grad school for acupuncture. So once I am done with that and become a licensed acupuncturist, that is where my personal money is going to come to. That's where I will build my personal growth for my family. But right now, my focus is on my nonprofit and making this baby grow to help as many military families as we can. So happy to be part of this conversation.
Liz, thank you so much for
Awesome.
your service. I'm sorry, Wendy, to cut you off, but Liz, thank you so much for your service. And I'll invite you to our veteran room at that we host under the Amigos. It's the first Thursday at 2000 of every month. So please, definitely, I'll shoot you a ping, and I'll start following you right now so you can stay up with that.
I love when you guys connect about different topics. That's one of the points of these rooms is for people to find like-hearted and like-minded people who are working on similar things or complementary things. So awesome, awesome. Thank you, Santiago, for that offer for Liz. So Christopher, do you want to say hi? I'm going to reset after you, and I'll invite some folks up while we do that.
Yes. Hello, my impactful human beings. Thank you for having me up. I love your title. That mindset, money mindset. That is a great space to be, and having that understanding and how we use it to impact on all different levels. So, thank you everybody for your shares. Thank you, Wendy and Rodrigo and Santiago. Um, yeah, I'm BHN Basic Human Needs Inc. Out of Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm all about impact, human impact on any level. It don't always have to be about money. It's also to be about a presence, a talk, a speech, or a smile. Just straight up human impact. But on the money side is really understanding throughout my company of how I raise money, how I invest money, how I distribute money, and how I use money as a tool to implement an impactful human type of platform. And but having that full circle of how money as a tool and how to use money as a tool, to make sure that this platform uh, take care of the vision that we design it to be on all different levels. So it's very important how I make impact with my service to people, to humanity, and again how I use the tool of money to be impactful or even impact investing. So I'm all ears. Thank you, everybody, for your shares. I'm here to listen and share. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, awesome. And Tasha, since you popped up, I'm going to go to you before we start, and then I'll reset after you. Do you want to say hello quickly, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and then I'll get started?
Sure. Hi, my name is Tasha Skillen. I'm a procrastination and burnout recovery coach. Been helping entrepreneurs for the better part of 20 years move away from the rules, obligations, and expectations from the outside world and helping them become the person they were born to be from underneath of all of that junk that we collected being in the world. And my main focus is relationships activism right now. I'm really driving hard in helping as many women and men in particular heart-centered entrepreneurs stop doing things alone when we're meant to do things together, when we're meant to co-create and collaborate and amplify our impact. So I'm excited to hear what today's conversation is about.
Ooh, great transition. It's about amplifying our impact. So awesome wording. Thank you, Tasha, for being here. So thanks everyone for being here. Today's room is about impact goals. The reason, as I said before, that this is so important to me is because we are still at the beginning of the year, and it is so much easier for you to track things going forward than it is to go backwards and try to track from the end of the year backward to the beginning of the year. So as I'm going through this, I want you guys to take out a piece of notepaper, jot down when I'm talking about these different ways that you are making an impact, some ideas. And here's some ideas you can possibly jot down. You can jot down names. You could possibly start tallying right now if there's something that sparks your interest of tallying numbers. A simple, line tally is fine. If there are things you need to research further, or if there are things that you need to maybe go backwards and look at from last year. So all of these things are potentially things that you will want to pay attention to as I'm talking. And I wanted to call those out for you ahead of time so that when you are listening, you're looking for those kinds of things and you're writing them down and following up after this room. And then I would love if you guys have anything concrete that comes out of it to please send me a message and just tell me how it works for you. So we'll also do some digging into the impact that people here on the stage are making. And we're going to start actually with Liz. So Liz, I'm going to tell you this right now so you could be ready, because Liz and I have been working together, and I know Liz's nonprofit really well, but I think she also has the main components of what I'm going to share down in different ways. And so she'll be a really good case example for us. So let's get started. So how do you make an impact? I want to see from the people on this stage, are you currently tracking the ways that you are making impact? At least one way. Clap your mics if you are, if you're keeping some sort of tracking mechanism of how many people you're helping. Okay, so Liz and Tasha, Santiago. Okay, so Rodrigo and Christopher is not quite there yet. Okay, good. All right. So Liz, do you want to say something? Oh, you might just want
Sorry.
a hot mic. There
Sorry.
you go. You're
Sorry.
good. You're good. I know you're driving, girl. So the reason why I'm bringing this to you in this particular way is because it does not matter whether you are a nonprofit or whether you are a business, you can still track your impact in the same way. And it just looks a little bit different depending on whether you are a business or a nonprofit. So it might be great for us to actually do Tasha and Liz today. That way we really know, kind of how they're similar, how they're different. So there's 4 letters that I use to describe this. And I want you guys to just write these 4 letters down right now on your paper. D, P, T, D. So that's dog, paper, towel, dog. I'm not good with acronyms, guys. Even years after I've been in the government, I'm still horrible with acronyms. So that stands for dollars, people, time, and donations. And I broke it down in this way because when you are making an impact, there's different ways that you might be making impact that you're not counting, because likely you're counting people. But you might not be counting dollars, you might not be counting time, and you might not be counting donations unless you are a nonprofit. But if you are a business, it's possible that you are donating things to others that you should be counting. So there's a lot of reasons why these 4 things will help you put categories together of the types of impact that you are making. And then you can, from there, go forward and describe it to people. So let's talk about dollars first. So dollars is something I call throw money at the problem. This is where you might be giving money to a social cause. You as a social cause might be receiving money. It might also be the amount of support that you brought in for a social cause. So for example, Rodrigo is a great example of this. We all know that almost every month Rodrigo has a social cause, and he'll pin it up on Clubhouse. He'll show us in the room what the cause is. He'll vouch for the organization, and he'll encourage us to donate. So one of the things that Rodrigo could be doing with his business is to say, in partnership with my business, as part of my business model, I bring awareness to social causes. I do that by helping others become more intimately knowledgeable about what these organizations are doing and how they're working. And last year, I helped over 20 social businesses or nonprofits to do XYZ thing, right? And if that's raising money, then maybe it's how much money he raised for those nonprofits. If that's working with a certain number of businesses, say a certain number of Latino owned businesses, he could say he made an impact through working with Latino owned businesses. And that impact translated into X number of dollars for that business, right? So now you're layering together impact. You're showing people, you're showing dollars, and you're showing that you are the connection. You and your business or you and your nonprofit are the connection that helped those people get more dollars, right? So this is like a very quantifiable way, if you are a social business or if you're a nonprofit, that you can track what's going on is just pure dollars, right? And a lot of us might be tracking that, but you just might not be adding together then the statement when you go forward in your marketing materials and you're telling people, hey, this is what that translates into. So when I helped those 30 Latino business owners, they saw collectively a 50% boost in their business or whatever it is. So if you are working with people and you cause them to get more dollars, when you're working with them, you want to ask, hey, is there any way you can let me know if this actually translates into more business for you? If you see a boost this month from me, doing XYZ for you, or nonprofit, as I've shared your information, how much more donations have you seen that came through the link that I shared? They should be tracking things, and they might be able to go back and be willing to partner with you since you're helping and give you that information. When you get that information, you then package it together in a statement, like I said, and you put that on your website. You put that out in a social media post. You put that in your blog post, wherever it is that you want people to understand how you're making an impact through your business or your nonprofit. So we went through dollars. We also sort of talked about people. And it's not just the people that you served, which most of us are counting the people that we served. But if you think about who those people are at a granular level, it's much more powerful when you are saying, hey, my target market is this. And of those people, I served X number of people who are like that last year. So for example, one of my figures last year that I was looking at was how many women of color, founders or executive directors, nonprofit leaders, whatever, business owners, how many female women, female identifying women of color, business owners and nonprofit leaders. I think that's how I worded it. And I had to be very prescriptive about what counted and what didn't, because you can overcount or undercount or duplicate count people. So I had to say, okay, for me, one of my things in my target market is Latinas. So how many Latinas did I actually serve last year? And was it through my accelerator, or was it through my 15-minute free discovery calls, or was it through some other mechanism, say a one-on-one coaching session, right? And I actually have a matrix where I'm tracking all of those different things. Now, it might sound like overkill, but think about it when I get to 5 years from now and I'm able to say, I've helped over 500 Latinas change their lives. And this is how I did it, right? Over the course of the last 5 years. It becomes a really powerful statement to demonstrate my commitment to this particular demographic, but also the fact that I have proven experience and expertise in supporting this type of person. And I'm not only demonstrating my impact in the community as a Latina, supporting other Latinas, but I'm then demonstrating to people that, hey, if you put yourself out there and support people, you can make a difference too. And it's an example that others can follow. Now, the other thing about people is sometimes we're counting what I call butts in a seat, which is just counting sheer numbers versus the actual transformation for a person. So when you are looking at people, you want to think about having both types of impact metrics, or both ways of understanding your impact. One is sheer quantity, and the other one is quality, right? So when you're talking about transformation, think about it this way. Before your service, what did their life look like? After your service or your program or your whatever, what did their life look like? And this is usually a qualitative story versus a quantitative count. So this is where, if you did any research, you have quantitative and qualitative research. I'm a nerd about research, so I'll definitely dig into this. Qualitative research takes a lot longer and a lot more effort, which is why people don't do it. But if you are a business owner or a nonprofit leader, you do not need to do focus groups. You do not need to spend a lot of money to do this. All you simply need to do is get a longer testimonial. Literally, that is what you need. You can take a long testimonial and turn that into so many different marketing materials to show your impact that you can literally put it all the places I already said. But what you're showing people is it's not just changing the number of people's lives, but it's the way that you are changing lives. And that matters to folks. And so you want to have both of those parts telling your impact story. And when you talk about the transformation, you're not only saying, hey, this is what happened to the person, but it's what does that mean? And this is where you get to the so what question. So why do we care about this? Why do we care about you telling us about this random person's story? What does that matter to me in my daily life? So you have to translate not only the story, but the so what question part of it. Now we're going to go to time, and then we'll go to donations, and then we'll take a break and have a conversation, and we'll do our little dig in with Liz and Tasha. And thank you, Liz, for coming. We'll let you introduce yourself as well. And so I know we've been talking straight for like a little bit. So again, we're going through our dollars, people, time, donations framework for the social impact kind of way to measure your goals for your business or your nonprofit. And we're on time right now. So time is an element of energetic exchange. And it could be about how much time you dedicate to something, but it also could be an aggregate of time from multiple people. So if you have, say, a couple people on your team, say, for example, Tasha works with her husband. And so say collectively, the two of them have done something time-wise to donate to other people. Maybe they mentored other business owners or something like that. They would aggregate their time together and say, as a business, we have dedicated X number of hours to mentoring new business owners, and it looks like this. And then the transformation they got looks like this. So they're really spoon feeding people how the time and the amount of dedication that you demonstrated also has made an impact for other people. Or animals. We could also add animals in, because we're going to talk to Liz about that in a second. Now, the last one is donations, and I broke this into two different ways to understand it. Donated to you is usually the nonprofit side. And then donated by you is usually the business side. So donated to you might be items, money, staff time, resources, anything like that that's coming in to you. That is where we're talking about donations. And as I might have shared in another room, but if you don't know, there's a blog post from last week that I put up. If you're a nonprofit, there's 6 different ways to fund your nonprofit. And so beyond donations, there's a bunch of other ways, but today we're only talking about donations. So donated to you, again, could be items, money, staff time, whatever that's coming into you. Now, donated by you could also be all of those things, but when you're donating items, money, staff time, resources, you're tracking it going out to all of the places that you're donating. So where the donations coming in are all the people who are donating in, the opposite for the business is all of the places you're donating out. So it might be that, and let's take Rodrigo again as an example. Rodrigo probably donated to 5 different organizations that I can remember of in the recent past, right? So he is going to think about his donations from a business perspective as an aggregate. Because when you're marketing, for example, when you're using this information for marketing, people are not going to maybe care as much that you gave to 5 different organizations as they're going to care about the total amount that you gave to those 5 organizations. So with donations, you have to just be careful how you use the information on the business side to make sure that you're actually showing the impact and it doesn't seem like you're just saying, oh, I gave to all these community organizations and each of them I gave $20 and look at me, I have 20 community organizations who got $20 last year. That's not really showing an impact. So you have to be thoughtful about 1, your strategy here, and 2, how you're explaining your strategy and how that actually demonstrates an impact. So that is what I wanted to talk about today. Again, a lot of stuff in what I spoke about already, but we went through our framework for the day, which was DPTD, dollars, people, time, donations. And this is a way that you can calculate your impact for your business or your nonprofit. The other thing I'll say is because I'm a coach for socially conscious entrepreneurs, the reason that this is really important to me is because for my business, I count all of you guys, right? So like one of my metrics is how big do Rodrigo and I grow this club. So one thing that you can do for me to help me grow my metrics is invite folks to the club. Because if you know people who like to have these types of conversations, who like to think like we do, who like to help other people, and they can benefit from learning things like we're learning today, please share this with them so that they can be here with us in the future as we do more of this work. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I'm going to open it up to, I think I'm going to go to Luz first just to say hi and anything you want to say, Luz, and then we'll go popcorn style around to whoever else is already on the stage.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon. Luz Nazario coming to you live from Miami, Florida. Thank you, Wendy, because I missed your other room. And I'm taking notes here. As you know, I'm the founder, creator of Nedas Coquito, No es de Abuela. And I just feel that some of these things can, not only is it for nonprofit, but I could use it also, right? Because I'm a for-profit. So I want to thank you so much for this room as I take notes. And I'm seriously thinking, okay, how many people did I serve? And like you said, the best time is now because I was actually thinking, oh my gosh, I think I couldn't really come up with a number based on last year. So I've already written it down that I need to track this starting today. So thank you.
Yep, exactly. That's why we're doing this room. It's very timely, guys. This was a room that I wanted to do as soon as possible after I did the webinar because I knew a lot of you guys did not make the webinar. And I was like, okay, I need my people to hear this. Somewhere or another, they need to hear this. So that's why we're here today to have this conversation. So let's open it up and then we'll go to Liz. Does anybody have anything you want to ask? Any questions, any other thoughts that came up for you about the framework? And then we'll dig into Liz's impact.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, Wendy, what a great kind of way to quantify what you've done, right? The impact that you've made. I've never thought of it that way. I'm clearly way behind on that. I'm very proud of the work that I've done, but I've never really thought back and said, okay, I need to kind of do a summary of this. How many people did I impact? Where's the money going? Doing all this, and then tying it to my business, right? And I just never did that work. And now looking back at it, I definitely see where I need to do that because that is part of intrinsically that is part of my work as well. I literally okay, I'm just gonna be honest. I rarely pull out like notepad and start not writing things down, and I actually did right now because I'm way behind the eight ball on this one. I know last year I probably raised about just by myself probably about 12,000, and then collectively probably about 20K in different organizations and fundraisers that I was a part of, either in a major way or in a minor way. But to be able to kind of quantify that and then present that as part of my business's goals and giving back to the community, I never really tied the two together. So I'm really happy to be hearing this, and it's incredibly insightful, especially with the acronym that you did. And then the last thing that I wanted to add was Liz mentioned this earlier. I've always been that way too, and you kind of alluded to this as well, where we don't make that ask as urgent or as immediate as it should be, right? We go out there, we just say like, well, yeah, if you can, and y'all have heard me, yeah, if y'all can, please donate. If not, it's cool, blah blah blah. But there does need to be a sense of urgency behind that and say, no, I want you to donate. Please donate. This is what I need, this and that. I still need help going on that next stepping stone. But I think what you've provided right now and kind of quantifying that and how it can help your business really, really just hits the nail on the head and lets me know I need to really go back, create an Excel spreadsheet, which I also love, and putting everything down, jotting everything down, quantifying it, and also, like you said, putting a quality assessment towards that help as well, and maybe reaching out to the folks that I have helped out. But thank you so much for that. That's already a great insight for me.
Oh, absolutely, Rodrigo. And yeah, I I could dig into your business so many different ways to think about how you've made an impact. But the other thing that you can think about too is in a altruistic way. You have been using that time to raise funds and using those energies that you would have otherwise been putting to your business to make profit for yourself to help other people. And as a solopreneur, that speaks volumes about you as a person, but anyone who's doing this work and giving back their time to other organizations and other people, even if they're for profit businesses, because we all know that you could be hustling and trying to get money into your door versus trying to get money into somebody else's door. So one of the reasons why as a solopreneur this is really important because it shows your integrity as a business owner to other people for you supporting causes that are important to us as a collective. So thanks, Rodrigo, for being an example. Anyone else want to share anything? Have any questions?
Yeah, I'm just so I loved all the things you were sharing, and I agree with everything Rodrigo said as well. One of the things that I'm realizing, and I've seen this in the clients I've worked with, the entrepreneurs I've worked with, that they, and I think to some degree myself as well, hesitate talking about those things because we don't want it to seem performative, and we don't want to give the impression that we're doing this to get praise or recognition. And this is all mindset crap that we have to undo. But just acknowledging that there are so many ways that we do show up to have an impact is so important, because I'm thinking about this, and I didn't know this about Rodrigo. Now I'm like, oh, I want to do more. What can I do more to help him do more that he can do to help, right? And so it's not about performative actions. It's about doing work and investing our money and energy into somebody who's also investing money and energy into things that we care about. And that's going to help the people that we're working with feel good about their time and energy invested, as well as their financial investments in our programs and courses and whatever else we're selling. So I just love that you have framed it in a way that sounds so empowering for everybody involved. And I appreciate the way you've shared it. So thank you.
Yeah, again, this is why I love sharing this kind of information because it shouldn't be something, if you're labeling yourself as a social business and you're not a nonprofit, you should be able to stand out with this information. And one of the things I think I spoke about in a room last year was adding your social mission to your business or your existing mission for profit, because when you do that, you're essentially telling the world, hey, I am looking to make an impact with this business. And as I make an impact with this business, I will inform you. And when I inform you, it looks like this. It might look like an annual report. It might look like a blog post. It might look like a post on Instagram. But in some way, I will share with you the impact that I'm making through this business. And I think the more you do it, the more people actually look for it. And as they look for it, what they're going to look for is trends. And what they're going to look for is you making a bigger impact. So when you are, doing this work, you want to be meticulous about setting up the systems to count it so that it doesn't become labor intensive. And that's another thing that we can talk about, as well as how do you set up those systems for whatever it is that you're doing. So so Liz, do you mind if we talk about what you're doing, hun? I know you're in the
No, not
car.
at all. Go for it.
Yeah, so Liz has a couple of different ways that she can measure impact. And she and I had been talking about this in some of our other conversations. And so when she's doing her transports, she's helping people reconnect with their families. She's also helping people improve their mental health by making sure that their pet or their mental health support is with them. And then she's also helping the pets themselves, right? So she essentially kind of has a couple of different things that she could be tracking. Now, of course, she's tracking the transports. She's also tracking the costs for these transports and then tracking the number of families that she's serving as well, right? So we've talked about those things, but we also talked about, well, how do you then quantify the story of that? So, for example, for these families that might be missing or feeling anxious about not having their pet with them and not anxious about maybe not being able to take their pet with them because they can't afford the cost of the transport, how do you tell the story of the mental health journey for that individual in the service and their family so that they can then feel better about when they do get Liz's support, they can feel better about their situation knowing that their pet will arrive safely with wherever their no duty station is at. So there's a couple of different things that Liz can track in there to show her impact. And when she's talking about this to her donors, particularly, she wants to think about who are those people who are receiving the information and what makes the most sense to share with them and how, right? So it may not always be, I'm going to tell you I rescued, 500 dogs this year, right? It might be that you're saying, okay, because of my services, we have rescued enough dogs that the dogs and their families can fit in a football stadium, right? And this is a big goal for you, Liz. But we're just thinking about like growing Liz's organization to be able to say she's making a bigger and bigger impact. And when you say that, you're telling them not only how many people that you're serving, but you're also telling it in a story way to demonstrate to people what that looks like for them. So that might be saying, okay, we saved this many dogs and this many transports, and that equals this many airline miles of dogs traveling around the world, right? And so it might be that Liz over the next year will have transported dogs, it oodles thousands of miles. And that might be something impressive to someone who's like, wow, I never thought about dogs going that many miles. That's a lot of dogs going all over the world. What an amazing organization. Maybe I need to fund this organization. So you also have to think about your messaging and how you're delivering the impact message to the audience. And as Liz and I have been talking more and more about her audiences, she has some amazing audiences. So Liz, I'm going to let you give everybody the amazing update about where you are with the policy stuff. And if you want to talk about your impact or anything that you've been doing in this area or any of the work that we've been doing together, I'd love to have you just share a little bit about what you're up to. Liz, are you able to speak again? I don't know if you're there. I knew you were driving.
Yes, yes, I
There
just
you are.
parked. Yes, I just parked. So thank you for being patient. So one of the biggest, I guess one of like the biggest goals for me and my nonprofit was to have some legislation in place where regardless, so that all DoD members, all regardless of what service you are, if you are moving from a duty station in the continental United States to outside the continental United States, so this includes Hawaii and Alaska, that the military will essentially pay you back up to $4,000 to cover any transportation fees. So this has been a goal of mine for the last 3 years when I discovered how much military families are paying to keep their pets together. And I thank my dog, because if it wasn't for him and if it wasn't for our orders to Japan, I never would have found out that this was an issue. And it's one of those issues that people just kind of accept. They're like, oh, well, this is, this is what I have to pay. This is what I have to pay. And in my personal opinion, I think that that's wrong. Like, you're asking a family who has roots and who has formed connections to move to a different country, learn, adapt to a new culture, a new language. And the least that we can do as a country is have some kind of financial relief to have this pet come with them, because that's their constant companion. This last weekend, or last week, this has been a very crazy week for our organization, because we had an emergency situation. As everybody knows, the situation in Ukraine has escalated, and the Department of State personnel were evacuated back in December, and pets were left behind. And this family contacted us saying that the Department of State had a last minute charter flight, and they were told to get everyone on this flight, get all the pets, like literally rip stuff off from the embassy walls and bring it on this plane. Like, this was like their last flight to get out of the Ukraine. And so this is how this family contacted us. Hey, our dogs have, they're coming. We don't have anyone to pick them up from the airport in DC. So immediately, yes, we will be there. So my husband and I went, picked them up from DCA. We boarded them for a week, free of cost to the family. This was completely covered by the nonprofit. And their final destination was Illinois. So my husband and I road tripped from Virginia to Illinois to reunite these dogs with their family, who they haven't seen since December. Like, this lady literally told me, I thought my dogs were going to die in the Ukraine. And, like, I just think of my dog and I'm like, oh my gosh, no way. Like, no way. Like, we're going to treat these guys like the kings they are, because I understand what a big part of, like, the pet is. Like, one of their dogs, they have been with them for 12 years, the other one for 5. They're for the birth of their child. And, so this is such a huge, huge issue, and such little scope of the matter. But I have, like I said, for the past 3 years, I have been advocating for this. And I finally got in touch with legislators, and Senator Booker has taken on this case. And he and his team and I have been working to include this as part of legislation, to have pet transportation fees covered. And we are making traction. I met with a couple of Republican senators last 2 weeks ago to co-sponsor this bill, and we have a yes. So pretty soon this is going to turn into a bipartisan bill. We're just waiting on this bill number, because I used to work in Congress, so I know this could be a lengthy process, but the fact that we are in the door is huge. I know there are people who will never get in the door. So the fact that we are in the door, the fact that I am constantly communicating with these legislators, and who are, not only aware, but they're compassionate about this issue, which is really important, because a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, well, if you're in the military, why did you get a pet? Like, well, why? Like, military shouldn't cover the pet. I was like, well, military covers my children, right? So they can cover my pet. I will gladly give up a piece of, like, a couple of pounds of whatever from my household goods, so that my pet could come with me, who's going to be my comfort while my husband deploys for 9 months, So clearly this is something I'm very passionate about. And like I said, right now I was on the road because I was just checking in this cute little husky mist who was on his way to Korea. So, this is as much as that we can do to take out the middlemen, the transporters who's, they're a business. So I don't blame them that their cost is so high, especially during the times of COVID, right? I do not blame them. It's their business. But if I can step in and take out this middleman out, so these military families have some kind of financial relief, I will absolutely do that. So in a nutshell, that is what Leave No Pause Behind USA does.
Liz, I'm sorry, Wendy, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, isn't Liz a gangster? Can you guys just clap for Liz really quickly? Because damn, that is some serious work, Liz.
Liz, I just wanted to ask a quick question. Are you is it just DOD, or is it Department of Homeland Security as well?
So right now it's just DOD. It's just Department of Defense, because we're really focusing on the active duty side. However, I know that in the wording for the legislation, it's going to be covering transportation fees for up to 2 pets, which are defined as a cat or a dog, and for all DOD members, so that this covers active duty, it covers reservists, it covers civilians like GS, and it covers contractors. If you're a contractor working under DOD and you have to go to places like Japan or Germany, then it will cover them as well.
The only reason why I asked that, because I know I was Coast Guard, and we're not DOD, we're Department of Homeland Security. So, and of course, Coasties, we go anywhere from Bahrain to the East Coast to Hawaii to even Afghanistan. So, I mean, that would be really nice to include them as well, since they are part of one of the five major branches of the military.
That is a really good point. I do believe Coast Guard is included in this. I think military branches are covered as long as and DOD, because I know we had a conversation with Coast Guard about this bill. So I think you guys
All
are
right,
covered.
awesome.
Like if this bill passes through, Coast Guard will be
Thank
covered.
you so much. I just want to break my guys up. Don't want to get them left behind.
No, thank you for bringing it up.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Liz can double check and see, and just to make sure. But yeah, and I thank you, Liz, again for everything you're doing. I think it's amazing, how you're helping our service members and their families. And the cool thing that you heard today is Liz giving one story of impact. And actually, she talked about two of them, but she gave one really, really intense one with the Ukraine example. So turning that story into something that demonstrates to donors why they need to be about your organization would be similar to what Liz just gave us in this room. And I don't know how many of you on this stage were like, oh, I should give Liz money after that. But did anybody else besides me go, oh my God, save the puppies, give Liz money?
I'm already, anything about military and animals, I'm all with it, man. And I think, Liz, are you Peruvian as well?
I don't know. I don't know what.
I
All
am
right, so
Peruvian.
cool. That yeah, I'm gonna just give you money just based on that.
I'm just going to give you money. You should put that on your website, Liz. I'm also Peruvian. So one of the things that Liz and I are talking about is setting an impact goal that is realistic for your business or your nonprofit. So if she's trying to bring in donations versus some of us who might be trying to give out donations from our business, she is thinking about her next problem, and her next problem is that we're coming up on a peak season, and in order to really scale at the level that she needs to be a bit aggressive with this donation situation. And so one of the things we thought of was, well, can we do a clubhouse, something to pull together some money for the next thing that she needs, and what is the right target for that. And of course, we're thinking conservative on one side, but then you really need to think about, well, what is realistic and then what is aspirational? And how do you set that aspirational target for yourself? And what does that look like? How do you do the math to do that? So that's the next part of this equation. And if you need that part of it, that's in the training above. But what we were doing with Liz is we said, hey, we had the same conversation. I walked through in the training about what is Liz's real target and then what is her aspirational target. And we settled on 50,000. And it sounds, not unreasonable to say, hey, for this particular campaign, for this particular purpose, we want this. And the trick is going to be to put the material together in order to tell people, well, what is this? Why do we want it? And why are we trying to get $50,000, right? And to give them a good story about why they should say, yes, let's donate. Now, the other thing is we've got to make it easy for them to donate. So then it's about making sure that Liz's website is optimized and that the ways that she's getting these donations are optimized so that people can give her the money for this campaign. So there's a lot more to how the strategies work together. And Salam, I know I was just gonna go to you next. So if you have like a second, I wanted you to introduce yourself since you're on the stage. I know you're back channeling me, but if you have a way to think about how these strategies go together for your business or nonprofit, you want to go one level more complex than just counting. You want to start thinking about how some of these things work together. So I think it's Salam. I want to make sure I say your name right, and I want to welcome you to the stage. Do you want to say hi real quick before you have to hop off?
Yeah, thanks, Wendy. I'm sorry I have to cut out and leave, but I just wanted to say I really enjoyed listening to you all. And this is, even though I don't have an NGO, I'm thinking about this more around like from a business perspective. So I really appreciate all the input that everybody's been sharing. So thanks so much. I hate to cut out and leave, but you guys are all so awesome and have a great day.
No, thanks for being here. The replays are on, so you can definitely listen to the rest of the room. But also, this is very much for businesses too. So you're spot on. But thanks for joining us. So, Liz, does that all that captures a lot of our conversation? I just wanted to give you one more chance to say anything else you wanted to add, and then we'll open it up to anyone who wants to say anything else, and we'll stay a little over if we need to just to finish the conversation.
No, I just really want to thank everyone, for having this room. And, I, when it comes to nonprofit, like Wendy, you're right. You have to be aggressive, and even with your personal business, right? Because it's all about growth. And I think that's one of the things that I really stepped out of my comfort zone in is like be aggressive. Like you have a place in the table. Like why not the head of the table? You know?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and a lot of us have had to carve our place at the table. And so, rather than continuing to cling on to our places, I think it's time we start claiming the space that we've created for ourselves. And part of that is to show people that, hey, when we've gotten to these places we've gotten to, we've made an impact. And the reason that we're here is because we're no joke. We're nothing to be like playing around with. So here's what I can do. And you're able to deliver to them some really stellar numbers on what you can do. And that's how you kind of package it all together in a way that's not braggadocious, but it really giving you the clout and the flowers, as they say here on Clubhouse, for what you've been doing and how you make a difference. But okay, so anyone else want to say anything else? I don't know, Tasha, anybody want to share? Feel free.
I just am going to message Liz because my kids are going to want to give all of their allowance to what she's doing. So I'll be messaging you, Liz.
No, one thing I wanted to add. Well, I have everybody here. This definitely, I love what Liz is doing. Her organization is amazing. Just want to quickly add for whoever can't donate, that monetary amount. Another good way to help out is just giving her that social capital. Follow her organization. Get on that Instagram, share her stuff. I just started following her organization, so that's on Instagram. It's at Leave No Pause Behind USA. So why don't you guys go check out her IG, give her that follow, start liking her stuff, commenting on it, sharing it, give her that social capital because that's a big one. You never know who's looking at our social media. You never know. Maybe one of your followers. I know of at least like 5 or 6. Marine Corps veterans that have this situation that follow me that I'm sure as soon as I share her stuff, they're gonna say, whoa, that's personal to me. You know what? I'm gonna hook them up, and that opens the door. So you never know where opportunity might be coming from. So give her that social capital. That's a really good way to help. So yeah, Liz, again, congratulations. I love what you're doing, and I'm looking forward to see more of your work.
Thank you so much, guys. I actually have to step out, but I just really, really want to thank you guys for having this platform for me to share about Leave No Pause Behind USA. And thank you so much for the feedback, Wendy. We will definitely be talking soon. Thank you, guys.
Yep, bye, Hen. Thanks. I'm glad you traveled safely too. So yeah, so I know we're going to close up the room in just a few more minutes. I'll let anybody else who wants to share again to who's on the stage, or if anybody has any questions and they want to come up and ask, feel free to come up. The replays are on, so if you need to go back and you didn't take good enough notes, you can go back and listen to this. And also, I pinned at the top our link to Rodrigo and I turn this into a podcast. So that is the link to the podcast. You can go over there and listen to prior rooms. We have lots of different topics that are already up there. And everyone that we put up goes up on Friday morning. So if you want to follow, it would be great to have you as a follower. And you'll get a new episode sent to your Spotify on Friday mornings. And then shortly, you'll see the podcast on all the rest of the podcast platforms. So if you listen on Apple or some of the other ones, I will let you know when all of those are up. So anyone else want to share anything before we part ways?
Just wanted to add, Wendy, that it is important to make those connections. Really, really appreciate Liz just coming over here and sharing her story. I have no idea about this. I thought it was funny when Santiago does the same thing. Santiago did the same thing that I do when I go to a Mexican restaurant and I'm with my friends and they don't speak Spanish, but I do, and I start speaking Spanish with the waiter or the waitress. He did the same thing, saying something about 2,300 hours or whatever it was. I
Oh
always
yeah.
think it's funny.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, one of the hardest things for us veterans is like when we find a fellow vet, we feel like we're talking normal. Like right now, yeah, it's funny, man. We just go into that military jargon.
yeah, but that's one of the things about community, right? You find your community, you find commonalities within them, and then you kind of build from there, right? And that's just the way the organic relationships they manifest. And so even right now, even in this room, I know we have a smaller group here, but I love it because you never know the connections that you have. And Liz is out here doing really good work, and I know Santiago's a great connection. And for them to link up and then possibly expand this program's awareness to other folks, that's really what it's all about. And the last thing that I'll add is that you never know. You just never know who is exposed to it via a social media post, via a conversation, via a network. Somebody might know Santiago from another room. She goes into that room because Santiago wanders into that room. That person is in need of that service or whatnot. So I always appreciate it when folks are pretty gung ho about their passion, their purpose, and you can tell Liz really is. So kudos to her and kudos to everybody. And I really did appreciate Wendy the advice today because that is something that I am completely lacking in taking kind of control of that narrative, that story. Because like Tasha said earlier, it can come off as performative, and I think one of the biggest things about it is because I grew up in a household where it was performative. Just being frank again, my dad was super performative. For him, giving money was not really about giving money or helping others. It's about showing folks that he had money to give. And so I grew up with this anti-money kind of thing, and always kind of give my generosity kind of cloaked and kind of not take credit for it and all this other stuff because I just felt like I didn't want to be performative, right? But at the end of the day, I know I'm not performative. I just need to get out of that kind of mentality. So I appreciate that being brought up as well. As always, Wendy, great topic, and I'll pass it over to Santiago.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you brought that up, Rodrigo. I know we're gonna close the room. We're over a little bit here, but just to quickly, that whole thing, for example, I was just like Rodrigo, where I didn't, for example, like GoFundMe's and stuff, where when they're for a good cause, I would always, donate anonymously and share on my page, whatever. But then, I started thinking, like, I know one person was like, well, did you donate? You're sharing. So it kind of like forced me to like starting to put my name just so I could kind of like lead by example. Because I was just like Rodrigo, that I saw people in my family, they would do something and they would brag about it. So are you doing it out of the kindness of your heart, or are you just doing it to show off to people that, hey, yeah, man, I have enough to give? But again, they did it with that intention. It wasn't anywhere for good intention. I'm a true believer of, if you're gonna do a goodwill, might as well just do it without anybody knowing. But to a certain extent as well, when it comes to the nonprofit side, you definitely want to have accountability for that stuff so you could show those people that, hey, this is where the dollars are going, man. This is what we're doing. We're actually creating an impact. And here are the numbers to prove it. We are actually showing you, real data that shows, hey, this is what it's going for. This way, when you go to ask, you could justify and have something to fall back on because that's what people want to see.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Social Impact Level Up podcast. From me, Wendy V, and my co-host Rodrigo Bravo, we sincerely appreciate your follows, your likes, your subscribes, and your shares. Make sure that you're reaching out to us on social media. We'd love to hear from you. Have a wonderful day, and remember, keep changing the world.